He was known as the Man in Black, a deep voice, a rebel heart, and a soul full of songs that spoke to millions. But behind the spotlight, behind the fame, Johnny Cash was fighting a silent battle. Pause. A battle against type 2 diabetes. Slow fade in of dramatic music. Johnny's journey wasn't just about music. It was about endurance, facing pain, weakness, and the slow changes that diabetes brings. There were days when his body felt heavy, his energy fading, but his spirit, that stayed strong. Pause. Even when doctors told him his health was in danger, Johnny refused to stop creating. He kept writing. He kept singing. Because music was his medicine. Gentle guitar strum, ring of fire style. Type 2 diabetes forced Johnny to slow down, to face his limits. But instead of giving up, he found peace in reflection, in faith, in family, and in the power of song. His voice may have grown softer, but his words became deeper. Inspiring music rises. He once said, "You build on failure. You use it as a stepping stone." And that's exactly what he did. Johnny turned pain into poetry, struggle into strength. Pause. He was known as the Man in Black, a deep voice, a rebel heart, and a soul full of songs that spoke to millions. But behind the spotlight, behind the fame, Johnny Cash was fighting a silent battle. Pause. A battle against type 2 diabetes. Slow fade in of dramatic music. Johnny's journey wasn't just about music. It was about endurance, facing pain, weakness, and the slow changes that diabetes brings. There were days when his body felt heavy, his energy fading, but his spirit, that stayed strong. Pause. Even when doctors told him his health was in danger, Johnny refused to stop creating. He kept writing. He kept singing. Because music was his medicine. Gentle guitar strum, ring of fire style. Type 2 diabetes forced Johnny to slow down, to face his limits. But instead of giving up, he found peace in reflection, in faith, in family, and in the power of song. His voice may have grown softer, but his words became deeper. Inspiring music rises. He once said, "You build on failure. You use it as a stepping stone." And that's exactly what he did. Johnny turned pain into poetry, struggle into strength. Pause. Inspiring music fades out slowly. The Man in Black taught us, strength is not in perfection, but in perseverance. Soft guitar strumming, like the beginning of a Johnny Cash song. Emotional calm. He was the Man in Black. A deep voice that spoke truth. A man who turned pain into poetry and struggle into song. But behind the fame, behind that legendary sound, Johnny Cash was fighting a battle most people never saw. Pause. A battle with type 2 diabetes. Dramatic music fades in softly. For years, Johnny's life was filled with touring, recording, and giving everything to his music. But diabetes began to change that. It drained his energy. His body ached. There were days he couldn't perform the way he wanted. Pause. Yet he never complained. He faced every challenge with quiet courage. Soft piano music. Johnny once said, "You build on failure. You use it as a stepping stone." And that's exactly what he did. When diabetes tried to slow him down, he turned to faith, family, and music for strength. Dramatic music rises. Even in pain, he kept recording. He poured his heart into songs that spoke about life, faith, and redemption. Songs that touched millions because they came from a man who truly understood struggle. Pause. There was a turning point. Johnny realized his body might be weaker, but his spirit was stronger than ever. He accepted his illness not as an ending, but as a chance to live with purpose. Inspiring music swells. He found peace in the simple things. A quiet moment with June, a prayer, a guitar in his hands. His music became more honest, more human, more powerful. Soft, alpe sul piano. Johnny Cash didn't let diabetes silence his voice. He kept singing until his final days. Not for fame, but to show that even through sickness, you can still shine. Pause, music softens. To everyone living with diabetes, remember Johnny's story. It's not about what you lose. It's about what you find when life tests you. Inspiring music rises again. Find your voice. Find your strength. And keep your song alive, just like the man in black. Music fades out slowly. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about rising every single time. Inspired by Johnny Cash musical note. Soft country guitar plays, slow and emotional. Gentle, reflective tone. He was known around the world as the man in black. A deep voice that carried truth, pain, and faith. But behind that voice, behind the spotlight and the fame, Johnny Cash was fighting a quiet battle. Pause. A battle against type 2 diabetes. Dramatic music fades in softly. It didn't happen overnight. Years of touring, stress, and health struggles slowly took their toll. The man who once ruled the stage began to feel weak. His hands trembled, his energy faded. But Johnny Cash refused to let the disease take his soul. Pause. Soft piano melody. He found his strength not in the applause, but in the silence, in prayer, in family, and in faith. Even when pain tried to steal his music, Johnny kept writing. He kept singing. Because for him, music wasn't just art. It was survival. Inspiring music rises. When doctors told him to slow down, Johnny turned inward and found meaning in his struggle. He used his voice to speak truth about life, loss, and redemption. Songs like Hurt became more than just lyrics. They were reflections of a man who had faced darkness and still found light. Pause. His turning point came when he realized he couldn't change his diagnosis, but he could change how he lived with it. He accepted his condition with grace and turned his weakness into wisdom. Dramatic pause. Music softens. Even when his body grew frail, his spirit burned bright. Johnny once said, "You build on failure. You use it as a stepping stone." And that's exactly what he did. Inspiring music swells, cinematic tone. Through every setback, every moment of pain, he found a reason to keep going, a reason to sing, because the world still needed his voice. And his story, soft piano and gentle guitar blend. Hopeful tone. Johnny Cash's life reminds us, diabetes may test your body, but it cannot break your spirit. Pause. So, to everyone living with diabetes, remember Johnny's journey. You are stronger than your struggle. Keep faith. Keep fighting. And like the man in black, keep your song alive. Music fades out slowly. Soft guitar music plays, calm and emotional. Gentle, deep tone. He was the man in black, a legend, a voice that spoke to the broken and gave hope to the lost. But behind the fame, behind the lights, Johnny Cash was fighting a battle that few truly understood. Pause. A battle with type 2 diabetes. Slow, dramatic music begins. For years, Johnny gave everything to his music, his time, his energy, his heart. But over time, his health began to fade. Diabetes brought weakness, pain, and exhaustion. There were days he struggled to stand on stage. Days when the fire in his voice dimmed. Pause. Yet, he never stopped singing. Soft piano joins in. Johnny found strength not in the crowd's applause, but in his faith, his family, and the music that lived inside him. He once said, "You build on failure. You use it as a stepping stone." And that's exactly what he did. Inspiring music rises. Even as diabetes changed his body, it couldn't touch his spirit. He poured his emotions into songs of redemption, love, and hope. When you listen to his later music, you can feel his truth. It wasn't just about pain. It was about rising above it. Pause. Emotional music. Johnny Cash's turning point came when he accepted his condition, not as a curse, but as a calling. He used his story to inspire others to stay strong, to live with purpose even when life gets hard. Music swells, cinematic and powerful. Through every struggle, Johnny's message stayed the same. Keep believing, keep fighting, and never lose the song in your heart. Pause. Even when diabetes tried to silence him, Johnny sans lutter, not for fame, but for faith, for life, for hope. Soft piano returns, gentle and peaceful, calm, hopeful tone. To everyone living with diabetes, Johnny Cash's story reminds us, your strength isn't measured by how perfect you are, but by how you keep going when things get tough. Pause. Music fades softly. Keep your faith strong. Keep your heart open. And like the man in black, never stop singing your song. Inspiring music fades out. Calm, serious tone. He was called the man in black. A voice of truth. A man whose songs spoke of pain, love, and redemption. But behind that deep voice, behind the fame and the spotlight, Johnny Cash was fighting a quiet, lifelong battle. Pause. A battle with type 2 diabetes. Gentle piano joins the background. It started small, a little fatigue, some pain, a doctor's warning. But diabetes slowly became a constant shadow in his life. His body began to weaken. His energy faded, and every performance took more strength than before. Dramatic pause. Still, Johnny refused to quit. Soft, dramatic music builds. He once said, "You build on failure. You use it as a stepping stone." And that's what he did. He turned his pain into poetry, his struggle into songs. Slow montage-style music rises. Even as diabetes limited his body, it couldn't silence his soul. His later songs, raw, honest, and full of faith, became a reflection of who he truly was. A man who found light in the darkest places. Pause. Johnny's turning point came when he accepted his illness, not as a punishment, but as a part of his journey. He chose to live with purpose, to pour every ounce of strength into the one thing he loved most. His music, inspiring music, swells. With his wife June by his side, and faith in his heart, Johnny Cash faced diabetes with courage. Even in his final years, he recorded songs that touched millions, reminding us all that life's beauty isn't found in perfection, but in persistence. Pause. Soft piano. Hopeful tone. Johnny Cash's story is more than music. It's a message that no matter what life brings, you can still find your rhythm, still find your purpose, still find your song. Inspiring music rises gently. To everyone living with diabetes, remember this. Your strength is not in how easy life is, but in how bravely you keep going. Keep faith, keep hope, and like the man in black, never stop singing your song. Music fades out softly. Even in pain, Johnny Cash kept singing. Let your voice never fade. Guitar,